first and last name and give us your title?
Okay, Danny Perez, Public Information Officer, Texas Department of Transportation in the Houston District.
Okay. So we are expecting possibly a wintry mix of weather moving through the northern part of our area, starting
Potentially.
Sunday evening? Yeah, potentially. So that being said, and the possibility that we could see snow and ice and sleet, whatever, what is TxDOT doing to prepare, to get ready?
So we wanted to be proactive. We work closely with the National Weather Service, and we look at what that may be impacting the area. So we definitely wanted to move forward and see if we can treat some areas that may be impacted. And that's going to be mostly on Montgomery County. The Houston District is six counties, and Montgomery County is included in that. So we wanted to treat some areas in Montgomery County, and as well as our North Harris County area, west part of the county. And what we're doing is we're pouring it's a salt mixed treatment with water that will sit on the roadway. It's to prevent the roadway from icing over. So in case we have a wintry mix, then we want to be prepared for that in case that does impact our roads, particularly our bridges, our higher structures that may be impacted. Wanted to make sure we address those as early as possible so we can, in preparation of the wintry weather.
And what specific locations are you going to be targeting, and when can we expect crews to be out there dispersing?
So starting this morning, we had crews at SH 99. So it's like the Grand Parkway area, 290, for example, on the northwest side. And then on the west side, we also addressed the SH 99, the Grand Parkway at I-10. So those interchanges, we address, those are some of our higher connector ramps. So we addressed those areas in addition to some of the main lane overpasses in that vicinity. We did that most of the morning. Our crews have finished out there, and we still have some operations going on in Montgomery County. So for instance, in the Conroe area, SH 105, Loop 336, we're addressing those areas, not the entire roadway, just the structures that we've seen in the past where that they may ice over. Even with that wintry weather, may not come this far south, but still it may impact those bridges. So we want to make sure we're careful and treating those ahead of time.
So we're talking about bridges, overpasses, and elevated roadways.
Particularly the connector ramps. Those are our higher structures. They're especially some of our higher connector ramps. We have some that are higher than others in other parts of the district. So we wanted to address those. In addition, we also want to be prepared in case we need to help some of the areas further north of us. So like in the Brine district, for instance, and some of the other districts that may need our assistance. So in addition to treating the amount of roads that we've treated in the Houston district, we're also preparing equipment, making sure crews are prepared in case we need to be deployed to other districts, other parts of the state.
And in terms of this operation that's currently underway, can you give me a sense of what we're looking at in terms of equipment and manpower and crews that you have involved in this right now?
Multiple vehicles. I don't have the exact number of crews. I can certainly get that for you, but we've had multiple convoys. For instance, the one that worked on the west side and the northwest side, it was the same convoy. We also had law enforcement support. So we had multiple crews. We also had contractors helping us in that effort. One of our great contractors was out there working to make sure we're covering a lot of ground in a short amount of time. What we want to do is do it safely, but also not impact traffic. So we wanted to go out there and make sure we get it done as quickly as possible, and then go ahead and move on to the next area. And they've done a great job at that.
And I was just curious, if we're not expecting this weather, possibly the wintry weather, until Sunday evening, Sunday night, how come you guys are out there now doing this? Because if it rains, wouldn't all that stuff just kind of wash away off those?
That's a possibility, but this is a treatment. So what we do is, if we have to go back out there, we can definitely go back out and pre-treat again. But we want to be proactive and make sure we've addressed these areas in case we do have wintry weather. But also at the same time, we wanted to make sure that we're addressing those when we have less traffic. So it's going to be during the morning time. We may have more traffic as we move into the weekend. So we want to make sure we have the crews available, we have the contractors available. So we wanted to make sure we made that happen. But we can also go out there if we need to when we get closer to the event. We have an issue where some of the material does get washed out, but it's very good at sticking to the ground. So it takes a lot of rain to remove it or to impact the material that's being laid out there. But also, if we do have any kind of wintry weather that does come in, we also go out there. We can treat roads with like a sand rock mix. Mm-hmm. So there's different tools that we have that we can work with to address any safety concerns in those areas. We want to make sure folks are traveling, that are traveling in those areas, that they're safe. But especially if we do get that wintry weather, that's when we'll start putting out the advisories that maybe it's not a good idea to be on the roadway. It may not be safe, but we try to work ahead of time to make sure we're addressing those roadways before we get closer to the event.
And again, what is the treatment? What's it composed of?
So it's mostly it's a salt water mix. It's a material that we put out there. It's called brine. Mm-hmm. So we put that out there. So if the road does get, there's any kind of precipitation that accumulates on the roadway, then it won't freeze. It would it prevents it from freezing over, icing over, but it could potentially ice over. So that's when we go out there with additional treatment where we can put a rock sand mix and lay that at closer to the event or during the event. So
brine meaning like what the mixture you'd use to like brine a turkey?
It's just a salt water mix.
Yeah.
It's a material. It's got a strong salt content in it, so it prevents the roadway from icing over. But I mean, there may be an instance where we have some issues, and that's where we have our folks at Houston TxDOT monitoring the roadways around the clock. So we do get an event that does come in. We're monitoring those roadways, seeing if there's any issues. But of course, when we get closer to that event and we do have a situation where we do have ice on the roadways, and of course, we'll start putting out the advisories and working with our partners in the media, working with our partners with the Weather Service, working with Harris County, all the different county folks, the OEMs, to make sure we're pushing the message out for folks to stay off the roads.
And how is the brine dispersed, and how long does it take to treat one particular area that the crews are focused on?
So this morning when they went out about 9 this morning, they prepped. So it took them about 2 or 3 hours to do all the connector ramps. So they're having to spray those connector ramps, and what they're doing, sometimes if it's a connector ramp, or those are smaller, they're the lanes that are on those ramps are smaller than, say, for the main lanes. So they may go a couple of times over the connector ramps, but at times, depending on how many crew folks we have or how many folks we have on our crews, they may have to do several passes to get the work complete. But it's something that we try to do to not impact the moving traffic that's in the area. So that's why we use law enforcement, and we try to address 1 lane or 2 lanes at a time.
Okay. That's it for me. If you have any other final thoughts to add?
Well, if we do have any inclement weather that comes into the area, even if it's rain, we do ask folks to slow down, stay off the phones, not texting and driving, and of course wear your seatbelts. It's really important that your safety, to keep your safety in mind, but not just your safety, but also for your fellow motorists that are out there. We don't want to see any folks get into a situation where it's a major crash. And of course, if there's ice on the roadway, definitely look before you head out on the roadway. So if come Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, make sure you're just paying attention to the advisories and not just get on the road, not just get up, get your keys, get into a car and head out, but check the advisories, see what's going on out there. And a great resource is HoustonTransStar.org. If any issues on the roadways, whether it's ice or even high water, whatever the case may be, you'll find that at HoustonTransStar.org. We have a great team that works there. We also work closely with all our partnering agencies to make sure we're getting information out to the traveling public.
All right, Danny, I appreciate your time. Good to see you, sir, as
And
always.
nice to see you too.
Please stay safe and healthy.
You too. Let me know if you need anything, brother. Take care.
Will do. Take care, Danny.